Hi, welcome back to week 2 of ELA 7 Virtual Edition. So, first of all, before we get started on the things that we need to get done today, I just wanted to let you guys know that if you are missing any assignments from last week, I need you to get those done as soon as you possibly can. I'm not holding it against you or penalizing your grade or anything at this point, but I am going to be looking for those assignments here pretty quickly. And actually today I am planning to go through, figure out who's missing what, and then send out emails to you and your parents to make sure that those things are getting done in a timely manner so that we can get those grades in the grade book. And again, we don't dig ourselves a hole that we might not be able to get ourselves out of, okay? So if you think that you might have missing assignments, you can go into your assignments and go to the past due assignments little section there, and you should be able to tell which assignments that you haven't completed, okay? Otherwise, just keep checking your email. All right, so things to do for today. Concept circles for vocab list 20 is number 1. We're going to read a story from our Scope magazine called Aftershocks. That's number 2. And we have Reading Plus. I know a lot of us either did not complete Reading Plus for last week at all, or didn't realize until really late in the game that we needed to. So a lot of people are gonna end up taking a 0 on that because there's nothing you can do to make that up. So again, I warned you multiple times that it was going to happen. Mr. Ford warned you multiple times that it was going to happen. So if you didn't know, that means you weren't looking in the right places to find that information. Make sure that you're looking in your modules every day, watch the videos, read the lesson notes. That's how you find out what you need to be doing and make sure that you're on top of things. All right? So, vocab list 20. We have concept circles due today. So if you don't get all of your definitions written down while you're watching the video, you can click on the lesson notes, and all of the definition breakdowns are right there for you so that you don't have to keep pausing and starting and pausing and starting and so on with the video. All right, so first word, I say you say, ready? Dupe. Dupe means to fool, trick, or cheat someone. We're doing 3 definitions there: to fool, to trick, to cheat someone. Okay, we put 2 in front of each one of those because dupe is a verb and the connotation is negative. So think of a time where you fooled or tricked or cheated someone, or maybe a time you can think of from a show or something like that. All right, word number 2, cantankerous. Did you say it? Did you get it? It had multiple syllables. It's a big one. Quarrelsome is the meaning of the word cantankerous. So there's 1 definition there. And cantankerous is an adjective. It has a negative connotation because to be quarrelsome is not a positive trait. Maybe you know someone who's cantankerous. Again, remember, they shouldn't be in the school, even if we're not going over them in the room. Next, insolent. It means boldly disrespectful and arrogant. So we have 2 definitions there: boldly disrespectful, arrogant. It's an adjective and it also has a negative connotation. Word number 4, coddle. It means to pamper or protect too much. So our 2 definitions are to pamper and protect too much. Our part of speech is a verb, and that also has a negative connotation. It usually is used to describe a situation where maybe a parent is so overprotective that it ends up kind of, let's say, badly affecting their child. All right, so that's number 4. Number 5 on the list is reciprocate. It means to return a favor or feeling. So we've got 2 definitions: return a favor or return a feeling. Okay, so those are our 2 definitions: return a favor, return a feeling. We did leave off the to that helps us to remember that it's a verb, so you'll kind of have to hold on to that information. The word reciprocate kind of has a neutral connotation. We don't get too excited either way about it. All right, word number 6, verbatim. It means exactly word for word. So we're going to do 2 definitions for that one. So we're going to do exact words and word for word. So that's an adjective. Its connotation is neutral. And I'm thinking you should be able to come up with a pretty easy definition, example for that, based on some things we've talked about recently, like about text evidence. All right, on the back side, diffuse means to spread out. The part of speech is a verb, and that only has one definition. Should be pretty easy there. And the connotation for diffuse is neutral as well. I always think of my diffuser that I use to diffuse essential oils throughout my house, like the immune system booster that we're using right now in our house. All right, next up, peel. It's a little different than peel like on an orange. A peel is a loud sound. So that's a noun, starts with A, right? So it's a noun, one definition, a loud sound, and connotation there is neutral as well. All right, next, interval. An interval is the space or time between 2 items or events. So this one might be a little tricky. There's 2 definitions that we're going to use there. So we've got space between items, and then we've got time between events. Space between items, time between events. Okay, so like you might think of, say, a track meet. There's an interval between the different events that happen there. An interval is a noun, and the connotation is neutral. All right, next up, abhor. It means to hate or detest. So we have 2 definitions, to hate, to detest. It's a verb, that's why both of those definitions start with to. And then the connotation there, of course, is negative. All right, so I'm guessing some of you guys are going to say that Brussels sprouts are something that you abhor. I disagree, but that's okay. All right, we're on to our bonus words. Innate. Having ever since birth, not learned. So we have 2 definitions there. We're just going to drop the word ever. So having since birth and then not learned are our 2 definitions. Innate is an adjective and the connotation is neutral. All right. And then finally, we have omnipotent. It means all powerful. So that's our one definition, all powerful. Our part of speech is an adjective and connotation, probably pretty positive, right? It's probably a good thing to be all powerful or know someone who is, right? So we'll go with positive for that. All right, so as you're coming up with your examples, again, if you're struggling with that a little bit, use those example sentences to help you with that. I also want to remind you that you should only be using 3 words per quadrant in your concept circles. There should be no more than 3 words in any one of those boxes. All right. Also, we need to make sure that we are labeling those. So everywhere that you're putting a definition, you should put a D in that box for definition. Anywhere where you're filling in with a synonym, you should be putting an S in that box so that I know that you know the difference. And then also for your example, you should be putting an E in that bottom right box every single time. Okay, so please make sure no more than 3 words per box and make sure that you label each one of those boxes. All right, so that is due by 11:59 today. And again, you have all of those definitions in the class notes for today if you need to go back to those to help you out. All right, next we have the story that we're going to be reading in our Scope magazine. The story is called Aftershocks. And there's a little bit of background information that we need to have in order to make sense of parts of this story or to be able to understand it as fully as we should. So we're going to go through that background information really quickly right now. So first of all, the story Aftershocks is set in Tokyo. Tokyo is the capital of Japan, which is an island nation in Asia. About 38 million people live in the greater Tokyo area. So it's a pretty big city. Another thing we need to know about are the cherry blossoms. From late March to early April, the many cherry blossom trees in Tokyo's parks and gardens are in full bloom. People from all over the world come to see these famous flowers. The cherry blossom is Japan's unofficial national flower. Hanami is the ancient Japanese tradition of viewing the cherry blossoms each spring. The word hanami literally means flower viewing. The tradition is meant to welcome spring and honor the beauty of nature. Today, people in Japan celebrate hanami by picnicking with friends and families under the blooming cherry blossom trees. Something that we clearly wouldn't be able to be doing right now. Okay, so what's really important for us to know before we read this story is about the earthquake and tsunami, because this story is actually set after the earthquake and tsunami. On March 11th, 2011, Japan was devastated by a massive earthquake. The earthquake triggered a series of enormous waves called a tsunami, which destroyed schools, hospitals, temples, and towns. In the story, the main character, Katie, refers to the disaster as the big one. All right, so next we need to know a little bit about a region of Japan. It's called Tohoku. So Tohoku is located at the tip of Japan's main island, Honshu. Tohoku was the main region most affected by the disaster. So there's a photo there. You can see the waves coming in and the city there in the background. Fukushima is located in the Tohoku region of Japan. During the earthquake, a nuclear power plant in Fukushima was badly damaged. As a result, dangerous radiation was released into the air. More than 100,000 people were evacuated. The photo there shows a satellite view of the nuclear power plant on fire on March 14th, 2011. So this tragedy is one that just kept on giving. So the earthquake wasn't bad enough, then there was the tsunami, and then the tsunami affected a nuclear power plant. So this was definitely a very tragic event that happened in Japan in 2011. As you'll find out in Aftershocks, people across Japan were concerned about getting sickened by the radiation from Fukushima. This photo shows Japanese soldiers wearing protective gear as they work on decontaminating the area around Fukushima after the nuclear disaster. Unfortunately, it looks a little bit familiar right now. Aftershocks also mentions Sir Edmund Hillary, a mountaineer and explorer from New Zealand, and Tenzing Norgay, a Sherpa climber in Nepal. In 1953, these two men became the first to reach the top of Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world. So that just gives you a little bit of background information so that you understand some of the references that the narrator makes, and so that you can kind of better understand why Katie's feeling the way she is and what's happening in her family and her neighborhood and her community. So hopefully that information kind of sunk in a little bit, so when you see it in the article, you'll understand what's going on. So for today, we're just going to read the article. It's on pages 21 through 25 of your Scope magazine, and you have several options on how to read that. You can read it on your own, or you can listen to my recording and follow along in your magazine. If you've lost your magazine or you weren't there on Friday to get one, the link and the class code to the Scope Online magazine is in the module for today, and then there's also a scanned copy in the module that you can download as well. So everybody should have access to that article one way or another. All right, so to recap, if you open CC20, Concept Circles 20. That's where you'll find your template to put your definitions and synonyms and examples into your concept circles. List 20 should be hanging out right there in the module, so you can grab that and download it. So we need to submit our concept circles through Canvas after we've finished putting all of our information in them. I would prefer that we use Preview to do that. Type your information in there and then save it and then upload it and submit. Then we need to read or listen to Aftershocks on pages 21 through 24 of our Scope magazine. And finally, we need to make sure that we're working on Reading Plus so that we don't end up having to spend all of our Sunday afternoon working on that. Okay? So, and then as always, you can always read. I'm planning to get some more little segments of me reading The Benefits of Being an Octopus up and going, hopefully for actually today, Monday. If not, definitely by Tuesday. All right, guys, have a great day. Check in with office hours if you're unsure about what you should be doing, or if you have any questions, or if you just want to pop in and say hi. Thanks. Have a great day.